Let me ask you a question. Is it alright to lie if the situation permits? What about breaking the law? In a certain situation, of course. Well, how about murder? Is that okay? What if it means saving a life? How do you feel about the death sentence? These questions and more are what we call ethics, one of my favorite branches of philosophy, and for my money, the best show on television for starting a discussion about ethics is Death Note. The story follows a young and ambitious student after he discovers a powerful artifact that gives him the ability to kill anyone in the world so long as he knows their name. With this, he starts a personal quest to rid the world of evil. However, his actions gain the attention of a super detective that goes by the alias of L. The plot then follows the twists and turns of the two, their ups and downs, as the two have battles of the mind and sometimes real battles. Now, the influence of this show is surprisingly far-reaching. See, I have a buddy who is literally the most serious person I know, doesn't watch much TV, generally considers himself above the modern culture, and he knows what Death Note is. Even being able to talk about the show right out with me. And he's not an individual case. I've met all sorts of people that wouldn't, by any stretch of the imagination, call themselves anime fans, but they love Death Note. There's just something about the show. So why is this? Well, I have a couple of theories as to why Death Note is so popular. First of all, it was on Adult Swim, and while this is certainly no promise of success, it does have its positive effects. Next, the show works good with tension, making even normal-looking situations very, very epic.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
But most importantly, I think the show hits a spot in our brains that starts asking questions about right and wrong. See, I believe people like to challenge their own values in a safe environment. But before I get into that, let me hit my rule of 3 right fast. And, as always, spoilers. So on the broad, I'd say it's pretty obvious this anime asks questions about justice, specifically what is and is not just. The mental battles between Light and L, the entire course of the show, they all ask questions like that. But the issue is that both sides have their victories and losses, so there's never an exact answer. So at the beginning of the series, we have Light and L who stand at opposing sides of what amounts to the capital punishment debate, with Light representing the conservative right and L representing the liberal due process left. What, you thought it was a coincidence that Light gets faded in red and L gets faded in blue in the openings? Anyway, the two debate the issue in the form of mind games until... And really, this is just my personal example of one debate that takes place in the show. You could really use it with any of the topics that are in Death Note. How do you feel about big business? What about suicide? Overzealous police? The list goes on and on. As I was saying before, people like to challenge their own values, in a safe environment, and Death Note facilitates that quite well. Whether you agree with Light or L or anyone else, each character wins a few arguments in a few epic situations, and each character loses a few as well. You have the chance to pat yourself on the back when you feel right and rethink your stances when you're wrong, all without really having to discuss this with anyone. If you ask me, this is really the magic of Death Note. This is what makes it so popular. Now, the specific question Death Note deals with is the corrupting influence of power, and I'm a bit less interested in this question than the other one, because I think it's a moral we all have ingrained into us from other stories and lessons we've learned. It's really a classic tale. A character with good intentions comes into a position of power and slowly falls into evil, generally participating in what he was trying to stop in the first place. While those scenes are certainly present in Death Note, there is one very important little twist.
No, wait. Maybe I'm wrong. This is exactly what I've been thinking about lately. This world is rotting, and those who are making it rot deserve to die. Someone has to do it, so why not me? Even if it means sacrificing my own mind and soul, it's worth it. Because the world can't go on like this. I will become the god of this new world.
Light's intentions were questionable from the start. So at least there's that. So, the recommended reading on this one is super duper easy. In fact, 2 aren't even quote-unquote proper philosophy books. Anyway, first of all I recommend Animal Farm by George Orwell. A book about the takeover of a farm staged by the animals, used as both a warning on the corrupting influence of power and an allegory for communism. Next, I'm going to recommend The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. It's his masterpiece, which I really shouldn't have to say anything about. You should know everything about that book. I mean, look at the video you're watching right now. And lastly, one of my personal favorite books of philosophy of all time, It's Plato's Republic, which asks, "What is justice?" and suggests that perhaps we can see justice in the individual if we see justice in the large, in a just city. And in the process it gives examples of what Plato thought to be the ideal state. So until next time, send me your requests, I'll philosophize them, and I'll serve you a tasty dish of knowledge.